What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Thursday. Glad to have everybody along in a big show today because a lot of moves and big money was saved yesterday by the Tennessee Titans cutting 4 veterans. Some we've talked about a lot over the last several months since the season came to a close. But Rand Carthon, new Titans GM, made 4 moves official on Wednesday afternoon, parting ways and officially cutting Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Zach Cunningham, and also kicker Randy Bullock. So we're here to discuss all of these things and what this means for the Titans cap space moving forward, what they still might have to do. We will talk a lot about Robert Woods and the wide receiver position tomorrow on Friday, and spend a lot of time today, this morning, on the release of 9-year Titan Taylor Lewan and what that means for his legacy, what his legacy is, how the Titans can replace and fix their left tackle problem, because it is a massive issue with the Titans. So we'll talk about all of that and cap savings and Lewan's legacy coming through here on this Thursday, Zach. We've also got the Magic Bucket here to wrap up the show. So welcome in. Know you guys had a big conversation yesterday about A.J. Brown and all the things that he had to say. So appreciate all of you guys. Major Key says, Austin, you've been looking exhausted lately, bro. You good? I haven't shaved in like almost 2 weeks now, and I think my facial hair is as long as it's going to get. I think it just stopped growing. This is just as far as it goes. So yeah, it's
the Orlando Bloom.
Maybe
you have the Orlando Bloom beard.
I had a friend in college who was trying to become a dentist, and you knew when he was stressed out studying just because he hadn't shaved. That was like his study beard. This is my busy beard, but this is all I got. I think it's done. It's maxed out right here. So we're going to have a good show today. I'm glad to be back in here on this morning talking about all these cuts.
I mean, it's a compliment. It's the thickest I've ever seen it in the 10 plus years that we've known each other.
Yeah.
So it's coming in strong. You're getting older. You're getting wiser.
Again,
a little bit hairier, not much. But
this is as far as it's. I don't think it's changed in the last 3 days. I've kind of, now it's like my own experiment to see how long it
keep going. Keep it going.
No,
who knows?
No, my wife's birthday is on Saturday, so I think I do need to clean up a little bit.
Just tell her you're Orlando Bloom now. We've got a big show for you guys today on this Titans Thursday. We're broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We will tweet out segment by segment on our Twitter handle at ATOZ Sports. That's at A to Z Sports. Follow us on Twitter. We've got great content going out there from all of our reporters. When news breaks, we've got you covered right there on Twitter at ATOZ Sports. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We're trying to rack up our subscribers and get more people into this Titans community. We're over 11,000. We're trying to get to 15,000. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you have subscribed, go ahead and like this video if you're watching right now on YouTube. That's what we're asking you guys to do. Like this video. It's very easy. It doesn't take any time. Like it. And if you're on Facebook, share it. I shared the show this morning while Austin kind of opened up. I do that each and every morning. You guys should do that each and every morning. Share the show around. Bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. More people are going to be piling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you guys do, share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. Let's get this party started on a Titans Thursday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, because we are Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter timeline, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. We do got to thank our sponsors, because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage rates and service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. If you get injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation, 800-800 4,600. So, Zach, we talked a lot over the last several weeks about cuts that new GM Rand Carthon needs to make as the Titans entered the offseason significantly over the salary cap, and now they are significantly under the salary cap as these four moves all made on Wednesday and official by the Titans. First, they kind of leaked out with external sources as Taylor Lewan's own podcast broke his own news. Bussin' the Boys tweeted that Lewan had been released by the Tennessee Titans. Then news started coming out from some national media members that Robert Woods was also cut by the Titans. The Titans then made it official and added Randy Bullock to that list. And then an hour or so after that, linebacker Zach Cunningham is also out after spending about a year and a half with the Titans. And so some big money saved, as Sam put up this graphic this morning. Before these moves, the Titans were approximately over $25 million over the cap. And then they saved 37.4 with these four cuts yesterday, and now currently have 12.4 million in cap space. So, Zach, the Titans are in the top 5 with least amount of cap space. Now they're 13th in most amount of cap space. Rand Carthon went to the Preds game Monday night, and they did, Tuesday night. They did some work Wednesday morning, making all these moves official.
Well, we had made a graphic actually weeks ago about 4 guys, right? Like, we had done our homework. We do this show each and every day. We talk about the Titans each and every day. And that graphic showed these 4 guys.
Yep.
Well, 3 out of 4 are gone. Bud Dupree is the lone soldier, and we'll talk about Bud Dupree at a later date. But we knew that those made the most sense to cut to get under the cap based on performance, based on lack of performance, based on contract, based on, just what they represented to this year's roster, or at least 2023's roster. So I don't think a surprise was there. As you mentioned earlier in the week, we said Taylor Lewan is got to be the first to go. He's not worth $14 million anymore. He's back. He has 2 ACL tears. He had, and we'll talk about what his career represents, but not surprised. The Robert Woods, he just didn't give enough in the short amount of time that he was a Titan, right? And a lot of money was owed to him this past year, and more money was owed to him in the future. They couldn't afford. He didn't earn his keep. Now, whether that was his fault or other people's fault, I think that's in the eye of the beholder. We talk about Robert Woods when he was traded from the Los Angeles Rams after his ACL tear to the Tennessee Titans. A.J. Brown was still on the roster. So I don't want to say it was sold a false bill of goods, but he thought that the team was going to be a lot different than it actually turned out to be. We all know about the injuries throughout the course of the season to his quarterback, to wide receiver room, to Traylon Burks, to the offensive line. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Robert Woods maintained his status of playing, but he just wasn't worth the money that they were paying him. And Zach Cunningham was the same way. He ended last season or 2 years ago, and you're saying, man, this guy can tackle. He is kind of closer to the high-tier Texans reign that he had years ago. And then this year, dislocated his elbow, couldn't stay healthy, was due a lot of money. It made sense at the time, but Austin, all of these moves make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then I'll sprinkle in, they now got to go find a kicker, right?
Well, yeah. And, they do have Caleb Shudak, who was an undrafted free agent this past year, who I think Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff like a lot. Now, and they kept Caleb Shudak around for this past season. He played in 1 game, made 3 out of 4 field goals against the Bengals. He did miss a chip shot that changed that game pretty dramatically. Randy Bullock was solid, right? I mean, this team under Mike Vrabel has had a lot of kickers come in and out of that door. And Randy Bullock this past year was 28 out of 28 on extra points. Now, the problem is he only kicked 28 extra points.
Yeah, I was about to say, they couldn't get in field goal range, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, well, he was 17 out of 20 when it came to field goals attempted. So my easy math tells me that's 85%. If you get 85% on field goals out of your kicker and 100% on extra points out of your kicker in a season, I think that's pretty solid. But they did save $2 million by cutting Randy Bullock. So that's a solid little savings there to not have to spend $2 million on a kicker that you can probably go find elsewhere. So that's a conversation for another day. I do think the Robert Woods reaction that he put out there on social media is something that we're going to give a lot of time to tomorrow, because I see a lot of people saying that he dropped a lot of footballs, right? And Robert Woods said, got to throw the ball more. But they started throwing it to him in some key spots against the Cowboys and against the Jags and some other situations on third down where Robert Woods flat out did not catch the football for his quarterback. So there's a lot of situations, but I think the common theme, Zach, in all four of these players is that they are all four veterans, and veterans are more expensive than younger players, and all four had some unreliable circumstances, whether it's Lewan's 2 ACLs in the last 3 years, Zach Cunningham, unfortunately, having the elbow injury that kept popping up and not allowing him to play throughout the year, Robert Woods and Randy Bullock just not being productive enough at their position and for their salaries. So Rand Carthon made moves that he knew that he had to make. There is the Bud Dupree thing out there, and I'm curious to see that situation, because just to flash this other graphic up here one more time, that's a lot of money saved. And with Lewan, Woods, and Cunningham, not that much dead money. 0 dead money for Lewan, 2.5 for Woods, and about 3 to 4 for Cunningham. But Bud Dupree's got $10 million of dead money on his contract. So that's a more difficult decision. And if you missed it, Sam did a great job on A2ZSports.com of laying out Bud Dupree's contract situation. So you can go check that article out after the show there at A2ZSports.com from Sam. He wrote that a couple of days ago. So we'll find out what that means. Anything else to add on that side of things, Zach?
No, I think Rand Carthon's got, when you get a job, you get organized, you get your desk set up, you put your family pictures up, and you get to your computer. In this sense, it's like a Microsoft Surface or whatever the hell they use. And you sit there and you diagnose who's the first to go. And these 3 guys or 4 guys, if you want to sprinkle in Bullock, pretty easy decision based on the amount of money. So Rand Carthon can actually go to work, right? You can't work when you're that far over the cap. Now he's got to get even leaner, and he's got to sign guys. He's got to strategically come clean up, honestly, a lot of mess that John Robinson had done. And I don't want to say it's completely unfair to John Robinson, because, he was setting up for the future. You make decisions because you think you're going to be there for years to come, especially when you get promoted to vice president and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And now you're sitting there and you're like, well, you're no longer there. Rand Carthon's got to come in there, diagnose, make the moves. So that made a lot of sense of what he did.
Yeah, Zach, we did talk earlier in the week, and I'm going to dive into this in a second, why I think the timing of this is very important for the Tennessee Titans. But first, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. It's a quick trip down I-40, exit 236. Check out the Palisade, full-size SUV, third row seating, all the bells and whistles. Painbone owns Wilson County Hyundai with his family. It's family-owned and operated. Go there today and tell them you heard about us or heard about them on A to Z Sports. They'll say, let's get you a test drive. Let's go 10-2. And once you go 10-2, you start to feel, hey, this vehicle is for me. They'll hook you up with a great price, a great deal. We love Wilson County Hyundai. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Don't forget with BetMGM, Memphis plays the Sixers tonight in the association. You can win with NBA one-game parlay insurance, and I've actually got a NBA one-game parlay risk-free token in my BetMGM app, and I'm thinking about putting it on that Memphis-Philly game tonight in the NBA. But you can get NBA one-game parlay insurance for any game moving forward the rest of the NBA season. And what that means, you go into your BetMGM app, you opt into the NBA one-game parlay insurance feature, and that means you get up to $25 back in bonus bets if your NBA one-game parlay of 4 legs or more falls just 1 leg short. I use this every February through, the NBA finals, honestly, and it can help you build that bankroll with BetMGM. That's the NBA one-game parlay insurance feature. to opt into with the BetMGM app. So Zach, we will talk about Lewan's legacy coming up and get the chat more involved here this morning. But again, the Titans cap space, big deal, right? Cutting these 4 guys officially on Wednesday with Lewan, Woods, Bullock, and Cunningham all out the door. Entered the week with $25 million over the cap, saved over $37 million, and now today, all of a sudden, 12.4 under the cap. And why the timing's important, and we heard this from Rhett Bryan earlier in the week where we played the clip on Tuesday from the Buck Rising show on the Zone, is that NFL spring break is next week. NFL's gathering in Indianapolis. It's the worst spring break destination, but that's where they go for the NFL Combine. So now Ran Carthon gets to go to spring break, and he's looking a little better. Everybody in spring break tries to shave off a few LBs before you go down to the Florida Panhandle so you look good on the beach. Ran Carthon can't show up to the beach in Indianapolis with over $25 million of cap space. Now he's got 13th most cap space in the entire NFL, and now you can start to get some work done because all these meetings they have at the Combine outside of the actual Combine itself is where deals get done. That's where J-Rob worked the DeMarco Murray trade back in his first NFL Combine. So what is Ran Carthon going to be able to accomplish in his first NFL Combine as Titans GM as they have the 11th overall pick? Now they've got cap space to work with. He can go to the table and say, hey, agents, hey, other GMs, I've got money to play with now. What are some deals that we can work on where I can start improving this Titans football team? Because you can't do that if he would have waited to make these cuts, even if he knew he was going to make them already.
Well, and we still don't know if Ran Carthon's mindset for this season is to rebuild, reset, or retool. We still don't know. These cuts were imminent. And now you go to the Combine and you start to, and I think today more than ever, right, in this era of football, guys, they want to make deals. They want to do trades. They've seen the success of the NFL and movement of whether it's the Bucs winning a Super Bowl because of all of their moves, the Rams winning a Super Bowl because of all of their moves, the Eagles going to a Super Bowl this past year because of all of their offseason moves with A.J. Brown and some others. So, I think Ran Carthon going to the Combine, which he's been to the Combine year after year after year, right?
Yes.
The guy's been in the league and been a personnel guy for a long, long time. It's like you hired Ran Carthon, I mean, for a plethora of things, but one of them is, who do you know, right? You make deals with guys you know. You go to dinner with guys you know. You don't, the random, hey, hi, how's it going? I'm Rand. Like that you go to the Combine, and I think to your point is to see who is willing and open-minded of what the state of their franchise is. And you also go down there to diagnose talent, right? I mean, that's the whole goal of the Combine. But really, there's this underlying factor, and we know this from the years of covering the league, is they go to Elmo's, they get a shrimp cocktail, and they talk shop. That's how it works. And Ran Carthon will be there, and I think this will be telling on what moves happen afterwards and who the contacts are made. That I think is a big deal.
Yeah, no doubt. And so we'll keep an eye on what could happen with Bud Dupree, as somebody says here that, Bud Dupree, Lee says all Bud does is run around in circles like he's playing musical chairs, cut him loose. And so we'll monitor and see, because there are some other opportunities out there for Ran Carthon to save some money heading into the Combine and heading into free agency as well. So Zach, let's shift this conversation to talk about Taylor Lewan, because Taylor Lewan was the longest standing Titan going into this year. Brett Kern cut right after training camp for Ryan Stonehouse, which made Taylor Lewan the longest tenured Titan in that locker room. And then all of a sudden in week 2, re-tears that same ACL, and then he's no longer around to help this team. And so Taylor Lewan had 9 years with the Tennessee Titans, and it's an interesting legacy. And I feel like this conversation, I'm truly fascinated to see how fans feel about Taylor Lewan. I'm just going to show you, these are some of the things that Lewan has done, as I tried to be as concise as possible for 9 years with this franchise. The 11th overall pick in the 2014 draft. And Zach, that was the first round draft pick press conference that I went to covering the Titans. He made 3 straight Pro Bowls in the middle of his career. He signed an NFL record contract for an offensive lineman. A year after that, he got suspended 4 games for PEDs. And then a couple of years after that, tore his ACL and then tore it again this past year. So 2 ACL tears in 3 years. That's all on the field, right? And there's a lot of things in between those 5 bullet points. Off the field, there's a lot of things in between those 5 bullet points, but how he engaged with the fans and the community, what he did, he and his family, for the Nashville community with philanthropic opportunities, his polarizing personality, the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and how Taylor Lewan represented the Titans on a national NFL landscape of being one of those guys that people know outside of the city. So Lewan's legacy was long. It was interesting. And so we're just going to ask everybody this. What's one word to describe Taylor Lewan's 9 years with the Tennessee Titans? It's going to be hard to do. We're going to have to go deep vocab here and get complex with it. And maybe that's a word you could use. But what's one word to describe Taylor Lewan's 9 years with the Tennessee Titans? But first, I'm going to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute. Hurt my foot last summer. Zach, my back's giving me problems. I think it's getting close to that time to go see our guys and our gals at the Bone and Joint Institute to check them out. Whenever injuries happen in life or you've got that nagging pain that won't go away, go check out the Bone and Joint Institute. They will make sure that they find out what's happening and help you get back to health so you can go and live your healthy, fun life. It happened with me with Dr. Jeff Watson last summer, helped my foot out, got back to where I needed to be. And now the back's giving me problems. So I'm going to go check them out here in the next couple of weeks. Boneandjointtn.org is where to go. It's super easy. You go to the website, you type in what's giving you a problem. It sorts the specialist for you. You click make an appointment to fit your schedule. It's that easy. In Franklin, Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports. BetMGM's first offer with BetMGM with the bonus code, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet misses. That's the best part about BetMGM. We love BetMGM here. I lost a little bit of money last night. I was washed the last 2 nights. Before that, last night I lost Iowa. Iowa can't beat Wisconsin. I don't get it. But so that was my last bet of the night. I did watch the Bama South Carolina. I'm into college basketball.
I didn't get to throw shade yesterday, but man, there is a lot to talk about with Alabama basketball right now.
Yeah, no, there is. And that game was entertaining. The surrounding pieces are you can call them entertaining. They're weird. But bonus code ATOZ Sports. Download the app today.
All right. So the question we're asking right now, what's one word to describe Taylor Lewan's 9 years with the Tennessee Titans? I just see Pistol Ramey saying thanks. Ed says complicated. Grim Jim says average. Jacob says overpaid. And then Randy says loyalty. So that's what it was. I knew it was going to be a mixed bag because you got overpaid and loyalty and average. Then you've got Pistol Ramey comes back with fun. Hall of Fame from KG. I don't know about that. Solid from Ronnie. Marv says roller coaster. Scott says enigma. Tyler says dedicated. Steven with confusion. Eventful from Preston. Tough from Clayton. Dom just says cool. Roller coaster from Jay. Injury. We've got bust from Kevin. What? There's no way that Lewan can be considered a bust in any sort of the word bust when it talks about NFL players. Orlando says pillar. Extraordinary says Wilbur. Culture coming from Tall Texan. Another one for pillar. Irrelevant. Mixed up. Bussin'. Transformation. Solid. Appreciated. A lot of roller coasters, Zach. And then Nate says, for you, Zach, your word could be Pro Bowler. Because
it's not.
It's not. So what is your one word for Lewan's 9 years as a Titan?
So my one word is tumultuous. And tumultuous is defined by disruptive, disorderly, and you could sit that as a negative term. But I think That's how Lewan played on the field that made him so good during those 3 years, right? To be disorderly and to be able to go up against the likes of J.J. Watt and some of the premier pass rushers in those 3 years to have success. And he was disorderly. He was disruptive. He would get in the face of players after the fact. It was, you remember that Raiders game when he came bounding in and they eventually lost because of a penalty. But that's how he played. That also is what made him very good. It also is what made, I think, towards the end of his career, more of a roller coaster. And that's why I say one word to sum up is tumultuous. It may be a negative connotation in a lot of people's eyes, but I think when you play a physical, violent sport at left tackle against some of the big guys coming after the quarterback, it's not all negative. Now, I do think that there was a turn in Taylor Lewan's career, and that turn was when he was popped for performance-enhancing drugs. And I think he realized at that point that nobody cares about a lie detector test. Nobody cares that you thought something else, that you cheated the game, unfortunately. And Taylor Lewan was remembered for that in a short span. And then he had to work his ass off to get back into the good graces of, I think, a lot of NFL fans. Unfortunately, then he tore his ACL. He had to work even harder that pushed him to the test to get back there. Then he had the Chandler Jones game, which was an abomination of what a left tackle is supposed to represent. But he was a head case. He had to kind of sit out and take a step back. And then he got back to being Taylor Lewan and being that stable pillar, as one said, on the left side. And unfortunately, I don't know. I don't want to use this word because I don't want to accuse a doctor of malpractice, but that was what kind of Taylor Lewan insinuated, that his knee was maybe not fixed properly. And he tore it again in Buffalo in week 2 this past season. That is a tumultuous career. And so that's my one word. Lewan and I went back and forth because of the Pro Bowler comment early on in his career. I was proved wrong early on. And then the second half of his career, I felt, was more about Taylor Lewan as the public figure than Taylor Lewan as the football player. Good, bad, and different. That is, I think, what Taylor Lewan will be known more for, in my eyes, is the personality than the 3-year stint as the Pro Bowl football player. He helped the Tennessee Titans in a lot of different ways. He helped them get some stability when they were in the dumps of the NFL, trying to throw spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks, to get out of the depths of the AFC South. But I think he has, the maturation process of Taylor Lewan is not typical, but that's what Taylor Lewan represents. So tumultuous is my one word.
Yeah, that's a good word. Man, there's so many words that come to my mind, and there's a lot of good ones coming in from the chat. Now, I do see, a couple, I'm sorry. There's some, Ryan comes in here with some lunch money. He says, with Lewan gone, are there any more fun guys in the locker room? I mean, it's hard to know, right?
This locker room's changing, guys.
Yeah.
So
and
it's hard. You don't diagnose it when it's evolving as much as it's probably going to in the next 2 years. So like Delaney Walker was the stability and like the leader for a time, and then he left and they searched around. Lewan, that's another thing that we didn't talk about. Lewan, he was stripped of his captain's patch. Mm-hmm. You remember that? And they gave it to Dexter McCluster.
Well, it was the middle, Ken Wisenhunt, who made a lot of bad decisions, gave Taylor Lewan a captaincy patch in his second year, which was his first year as a full-time starter, which was not a smart move. And Mike Mularkey, after Wisenhunt got fired midseason, stripped that away and said, Taylor, focus on being the left tackle. And then once that happened, you did see Taylor refocus. And so my one word that I think I'm going to sit with, because I've thought complicated, I've thought culture, I've thought stability, but I think my one word is dramatic. Because in every aspect of Taylor Lewan's career, there was drama. I mean, it for good, for bad, for lightheartedness, for whatever, there was always drama. Zach, I remember the very first press conference that Lewan gave after being the first round draft pick in 2014. He talked about having a pet pig at his college house in Michigan with his Michigan teammates. Then there was the taxidermy beaver in the locker room. There was a lot of things that were funny and dramatic in the locker room that made things lighthearted. There was the drama with the stupid penalties that he had early in his career. That is what created your Pro Bowl or lack of Pro Bowl, opportunity comments that you said. Then he made 3 straight Pro Bowls. Then he had the PEDs. He got the big contract and came out in the Boss Hog outfit. There was always drama with Taylor Lewan, but I do think that was a net positive for this Titans organization. And so I think when you're looking at Lewan's legacy, all of these 10 things.
That's a good way to think about it. I like your word, but is it net positive or net negative?
Absolutely net positive. All of these things, Zach, on 9 years, the 11th overall pick, playing 9 years for a team as a left tackle was a legit deal. Making 3 straight Pro Bowls, having the contract, all the things that he's done off the field, how he ingrained himself in the city of Nashville, and how he's talked about how Nashville accepted him for who he is. I think it's absolutely a net positive for the franchise, for Lewan, for the city of Nashville. He also came in as the city was, advancing and developing and changing and becoming more eccentric and becoming more, having a lot of personality. And I think Lewan was a very important figure in this franchise, and he came along when the franchise really needed it. And so, in 2014, we all know what 14 and 15 were 5 and 27, but the years with Mike Munchak before then were really just flat out boring. It was uneventful. It was a lot of mediocre or less than football. And Lewan came in and also gave identity to the Titans to go along with some of the others like Delaney Walker, Jarrell Casey, and Derek Morgan. But I think Lewan's legacy should be remembered in a very positive light for what everything that he did in 9 years all encompasses. So I absolutely a net positive, but drama filled from the start to the very end.
Yeah, I think these 2 words exemplify what Taylor Lewan is. And it can't be, the words aren't simple or stoic or like those words don't come to mind.
It's complicated, right? Everything about it is complicated. And, Timothy says he's the 3rd best left tackle in the Titans era. Yeah, but I mean, dude, that's, and Timothy follows up with, Brad Hopkins, Michael Ruse, Taylor Lewan. Those went back to back to back, right? Lewan was drafted when Ruse was going in to his last year, had an injury, and then was out, right? And so I think that's not a knock on Lewan. That I think the fact that Lewan is involved in that conversation is a
next
big
to those
deal.
2 names.
Yes, like Hopkins, Ruse, Lewan. All 3 of those guys, I believe, started over 100 games at left tackle for this organization and were pivotal and pillars of what those teams were, and were a massive part about the identity of the team. Because with all 3 of those left tackles, Zach, you got Eddie George, you got Chris Johnson, you got DeMarco Murray, and you got Derrick Henry. You've got some stud running backs that all ran left behind those 3 guys. And Lewan was a big factor in that.
Yeah. John brings up, he says, Titanic started off strong, ended up sinking. And, I do think the end of Taylor Lewan's career is definitely not how you would want to draw it up or think, or in his mind, even think about how it would end. And we don't know that it is completely finished or over. I think that's still, that remains. Here's my prediction. And I think Taylor Lewan, well, I'll hold it for later in the show, but
okay.
I do think that Taylor Lewan looks back at his Titans career, and it's like one of those guys, regardless of the PEDs, of the ACL, of the Pro Bowls, he's the type of guy that says, I would do it all over again, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Right. It's that type of mindset for Taylor Lewan. And what does the left tackle try to bring? It tries to bring some stability to an offense in protection. It is a protection agent. That is what the left tackle is defined at. It is to protect the blind side of your quarterback, because most quarterbacks throw with the right hand. And so that I think was a time for the Titans where they needed it. And the first 4 to 5 years, man, you're sitting here saying when he signed his contract, his $90 million deal, you're sitting there saying, man, they got this thing right.
Yeah. And again, like most things, it was a really good situation until it wasn't. Like it was, and you can't look back on hindsight and think that it was the wrong deal for the Titans to give him that contract, because it was the right thing. And, I do want to go back to GK's comment on YouTube. He goes, hello, not one of you mentioned that he was not a serious athlete dedicated to his craft. He was good on roids and nothing without roids. He's a terrible last 3 years. He will be forgotten easily. GK, one. Taylor Lewan was not on
steroids.
They were not steroids. It was Osterine. And if you look up that drug, then you know that it's nothing near a steroid. It was more of a mental PED than it was a physical PED.
Yeah, it was closer to like Adderall than steroids. So GK, if you're going to criticize, don't be a dumbass and say things that aren't right. That's on you, bud. Like we didn't write that. We read it, but we didn't write it. But if you're going to say something, actually get educated before you open your mouth.
Yeah. And like, after
and you're defending Lewan. That's the last thing.
Yeah, but again, I think, A to Z has had like a good relationship with Lewan. It's been a dramatic relationship, but I think it's been good for both parties. I mean, Lewan made a Pro Bowl for 3 years in a row, and every time he made a Pro Bowl, right after, when media was asking, hey, you made the Pro Bowl again, how do you feel? It's like, well, proving those A to Z guys wrong again, which is great. That's great. That's like, why there needs to be more of that type of relationship between players and media. I think it's good.
I've had numerous conversations with Taylor Lewan that some are not suitable for work and some are suitable for work. I was wearing this exact same shirt one day on the sidelines. He came and says, what are you doing, fat boy? Like I was like, what are you talking about? So like there are other times after the PED suspension, Lewan came up to me and asked me questions about what A to Z Sports knew about that.
Oh, because he was trying to
interrogating me.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I'm not telling you anything, Lewan. There was another time when Lewan made his either second or third Pro Bowl. He had one of the lesser offensive linemen come over and give me the handbook that they give with the letter inviting him to the Pro Bowl. It was a letter, said, Dear Taylor Lewan, and I can't remember who the other lineman was.
Corey Levin. I think it was Corey Levin.
So Corey Levin came up and said, hey, Lewan wanted me to give you this. And I opened it up, and it was his letter saying, inviting you to the Pro Bowl. And I was like, can I keep this? He goes, no, you can't keep it. And so like, these are the type of things. And he was Jekyll and Hyde. You sometimes come in there and Lewan he would call me fat boy one time. And then I would be like, hey man, how's it going? How's A to Z doing? It was very strange. Like I'm not saying it was kind of like a back and forth mindset where you never knew what day that Lewan was going to give you, but that was the relationship. I don't have any ill will towards Lewan. Lewan put digital media even higher on the map. A to Z Sports is a digital media company. We have tried to revolutionize what digital media is. We're in the process of that. I think Buzzing with the Boys has revolutionized digital media when it comes to player-centric content. Yep. So there is a respect for all of that. And look, I think I think the other guy's name was GK. This is KG. He's a ball buster. Whatever that represents, I like that. I am a ball buster. I'll come up there and you kind of say a side joke. It doesn't mean anything. Don't get sensitive. Don't take it personally. It's an act of endearment. Usually some guys, I don't want to say all, but most guys make friends by making fun of each other. That's just their love language. And I think Lewan, in the center of a grown men millionaire locker room, that's how he made friends. And that's how he earned respect.
Yeah. And look, I think, the 9 years of Lewan with the Titans is something that will not, GK said at the end, like he'll be forgotten easily. I disagree, because one thing, Lewan's not going away. He's just going to be more in your face and more in the public spotlight if this is the end of his NFL career. But Zach, let's go ahead and get to this conversation, because you mentioned you have a prediction on what's going to happen here. But the Titans need a left tackle. They have a massive problem at the left tackle position. So how should the Titans fix it? Should they go free agency? Should they go to the draft with the 11th overall pick, just like they did 9 years ago? Or do they think about bringing Lewan back on a cheap deal? And I mentioned that on Tuesday. So we'll ask that question and get your answers first. Tell us all about Farm Bureau health plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where to go to get your new health plan. I got my new health plan over a year ago, and I'm glad that I did. I saved 20% on my health plan. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. So if you live in Tennessee, you could save a percentage on your health plan. Whether you're a single individual, you're married with kids, you may have 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, 4 kid, 5 kids. I don't know how many kids you got, but they got a plan for you and your family. Health, dental, and vision. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans. How it works is you can go to fbhp.com/A to Z, get a health assessment. You can call them and get a health assessment. They ask you a bunch of questions. You answer them openly and honestly, and then they give you a quote. There's no pressure. You're not sitting there saying you have to sign up. But once they give you your quote, I think you're going to be, sit there and look and say, hey, this is a beneficial health plan that is probably better than my previous one. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee.
Also, don't forget with the BetMGM app today and any day, really, opt in to the NBA one-game parlay insurance feature and see what you can do, because you get up to $25 back in bonus bets if your NBA one-game parlay of 4 legs or more falls just 1 leg short. I mentioned earlier, I'm thinking about doing this tonight for Memphis and Philly. And a guy, Chris, said, here you go. He goes, Harden 15 points or more, Ja 22 plus points, Embiid 8 rebounds, and Bane 15 plus points. There's 4 legs on the NBA one-game parlay feature that I can get with the insurance of Harden 15, Ja 22, Embiid 8, and Bane 15. I'm gonna give that a shot here with the BetMGM app. And again, NBA one-game parlay insurance gives me up to $25 back if that NBA one-game parlay of 4 legs or more falls 1 leg short. So visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. All promotions subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Zach, now the question to go off of our Lewan conversation is, how should the Titans fix the left tackle problem? Free agency, the draft, or a cheap Taylor Lewan deal to come back? What are you seeing from the chat?
Well, just a string of comments right here. Connor, they will draft a left tackle at 11 for sure. Draft Paris Johnson. Draft Paris from Jay. First round pick from Steven. Re-sign Lewan from Mr. Jones. That kind of tells you what spectrum me and Mr. Jones are on, which is the opposite end. Free agency from CJ. Let's see. Re-sign. That's simple right there from Goated. Paris Johnson from John. Draft a left tackle early. Paris Johnson from Uncle Joe. Free agency, go get a veteran. Free agency from Dom, need a proven talent right there, right now. Billy Jones says re-sign Lewan if healthy. That's a big if right there.
He did get cut with a failed physical designation, right? That is important.
Yeah, well, yeah.
As did Zach.
Yeah. Look what we've been doing a lot. I told you that Tuesday. Told you all of this stuff Tuesday. Look at his history. He's been too out in the public eye. Not surprising that he failed the physical.
We don't know when the physical was failed, though. We honestly don't know that. We don't know if there was it could be that could have been an end of season failed physical, like after they, week 18 game against the Jags, when they do their exit physical. That could be when, again, we don't know when the physical took place, is my overall point.
For Ed saying draft Paris Johnson, a lot of draft and free agents, so kind of combined with Matt. That's a unique situation. Austin, what do you think the Titans should do to replace Taylor Lewan at that left tackle position?
I do think the draft is the right place to go, but I'm not against bringing back Lewan on a cheaper deal. But I still think if you do that, you still need to draft your left tackle for the future anyway. I'm not sold on Nicholas Petit-Frere, honestly, as a right tackle for the future. Paris Johnson is a prospect that we're going to talk a lot more about. It's February 23rd. The draft isn't until April 28th or 9th or something. And so we've got a lot of time to talk about Paris Johnson and what he is. But, he was a backup to NPF at Ohio State the year before. He played a lot of guard at Ohio State as well. I don't know what, his longevity is as a left tackle. But if you're talking 11th overall, Paris Johnson seems like an option there. So, but again, I think the bringing back Lewan opportunity for me is a May type of decision. It's after the draft type of decision. And that would be the only time that I would think that would be a smart move by the Titans. You go through free agencies waves, you go through the NFL draft, you evaluate what you fixed, what holes you still have, and what cap space is still available. And if you think you need more depth on the O-line, which they're going to need more depth in the O-line, then maybe Lewan back for a somewhat cheap deal. And Sean, I was about to get to that. He says, Austin, to find a cheaper deal. I think it's something that looks kind of like what Austin Hooper had this past year. It looked and read like a 1-year, $6 million deal, but the cap hit was spread over a couple of voidable years where Hooper got $6 million, but the Titans only had like $2 million against the cap for a spot. I think it's something along the lines of that. Is it $6 million? Maybe $5 million. I don't know where Lewan's market is at. I don't think his market's going to be very high because he's already said publicly that he doesn't necessarily want to play anywhere else besides Nashville. So, that is my overall answer is you draft your left tackle for the future. But after the draft, I would be open to bringing Lewan back for an Austin Hooper type deal, structured deal.
I have a 3-part answer on this. Okay. I'll start with what I think Lewan should do. I think Lewan May is not what I would do if I was Lewan. If I was Lewan, I was talking
from a Titan standpoint.
If I was Lewan, I would wait around until the middle of the season. Even somebody's going to need a left tackle. Somebody is, and so that it shortens your strain, right? It shortens the season. You get to possibly play for a contender. You get to pick and choose. And if it doesn't work out, you Odell Beckham Jr. it and you just don't play. So then you can retire. I don't know what Lewan's feeling on his retirement. I have no idea how he thinks his knee is. If he wants to rehab it to get back to being an NFL football player, that's a different level of rehab than a common Joe.
Sure.
So I would, if I was Taylor Lewan, not sign with the Titans in May, not sign with the Titans in July, not sign with the Titans really unless the Titans get needy. And I would wait for the market to come to me. That's what I would do if I was Taylor Lewan. Because the family stuff, I think the reason why Lewan wants to stay in Nashville is because his family's here. I know he built a house here. His core is here. You don't want to leave that. That was Brett Kern's thing, right? And what did he do? He kind of took the same approach. He was in Philly for just a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Wife and kids cannot see you for, a couple of months if you're going to make a couple of $1 million, right? I mean, that's pretty easy. I think that's the philosophy of what Lewan should do. As far as the Titans, I think that they need to draft their next generational left tackle. I mean, they need to go out. Paris Johnson has been thrown out there. He is a perennial top tackle in this draft. And Austin, you get the benefit of a lot of quarterbacks going in the top 10.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be 3. Let's just call it what it is.
Could be 4.
Could be 4. Anthony Richardson. I mean, people are saying Anthony Richardson could be 1. I mean, it's crazy. But I think that's going to help your pick at 11 get other quality players to drop to you. Here's my third scenario, and this is the scenario that I want. You're not going to be able to draft Paris Johnson if number 12, Aaron Rodgers, is in two-tone blue, because you're going to have to trade away that pick. So you're going to have to figure out another way to help protect Aaron Rodgers at a cheaper cost, but through free agency and maybe with a second-round tackle. But you don't want to put a second-round left tackle out there protecting a Hall of Fame quarterback that you just signed. So that is also a conundrum with my pipe dream, you call it what it is that Aaron Rodgers comes to Tennessee. That's what I want to happen. I am high on Aaron. I am not in the darkness. I am in the light. And that's I think clearly that is what I want. Now, will it happen? I don't know. I'm not like naive to say that.
What kind of tea you been drinking this morning?
There's TikTok, those mushroom tea, right? But I don't know if there's any psilocybin in there. I'm not tripping, but I do think that Aaron Rodgers should be a possibility. It should be on the table. Do I think it will happen? I think the probability is unlikely because of Rand Carthon and what we've talked about going into a situation when you're a new general manager to shake the tree and go get Aaron Rodgers. And we're going to have more conversations on this, Austin. It's just going to happen in the offseason. There's a best and a worst case scenario about Aaron Rodgers. And Rand Carthon is at the forefront of that decision. And he's putting his stake of his dream job that he's worked blood, sweat, and tears to get this opportunity. You don't want to take a flyer on a curveball like Aaron Rodgers. And so that's why I think it's probably less likely to happen. I think I would like for it to happen, but these are all the scenarios. Most likely, I agree with you, Austin, and the chat. You go draft your next Michael Ruse, your next Taylor Lewan, your next Hopkins to see if you can get a top 10, top 11 pick to give you 10 or 11 years at left tackle.
Yep. Yeah. And, there's a lot of opinions and responses that I could have about the Aaron Rodgers part of this conversation, but I'm going to save those for a rainy day.
Yeah, well, they're not going anywhere.
No, they're not. I think Rodgers has exited from the cave hut he was in over the last week or so. So maybe things will happen, and we'll see what happens with Carr, and the quarterback carousel is going to change a lot of things. But again, I do think there is a situation where I could see Lewan being a solid option to rejoin the Titans after the draft. Now, I said May. The whole point of that was just post-draft.
Yeah, it's closer to training camp.
And I think, honestly, you bring that up, I agree with that because, Lewan's not going to
miss. There's no reason.
Yeah, and especially because it's the Titans, right? He comes in, and he knows Vrabel, he daps up Tim Kelly, and he gets back to the practice, and there's no like time missed. He's just right back in the same locker room he was in for 9 years.
Pull this Michael Strahan, sit out, fly around, hang out in Arizona, go back to Cabo a couple of times, do whatever the hell you want, get on the bus, renovate the bus, upgrade the bus, hang out with Compton, do beers with your buddies, talk about the boys some more. There's no reason to sign. And I don't think that he will. I would be surprised if he did.
All right, Zach. So tomorrow we will discuss a lot of what Robert Woods did on social media after the Titans cut him and fixing the Titans wide receiver situation, because now with these 4 moves that Rand Carthon made yesterday with cutting Lewan, Woods, Randy Bullock, and Zach Cunningham, they've got $12.4 million in cap space. That's 13th most cap space in the NFL now after being bottom 5 in that category before those cuts were made yesterday. So we're going to talk a ton tomorrow about Robert Woods, his free tweet, and really what the Titans need to be able to do at wide receiver, because under contract, I said this earlier in the week, under contract, Treylon Burks, Racey McMath, Kyle Phillips, Mason Kinsey, and Reggie Roberson. That's it. That's the Titans wide receivers that they have that are able to go to the facility and have a key card.
It's the worst wide receiver room in the league
currently. But the good thing is they don't have to play until another.
They were the worst wide receiver room in the league
they were
this year.
They were, no doubt about that. All right, Zach, let's go ahead and wrap up this Thursday show with the Magic Bucket like we always do. Magic Bucket Thursday. But I'm going to tell you guys about our sponsors, Hughes and Coleman. They're the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans and here this morning. Hughes and Coleman injury lawyers. If you are injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. 800-800-4600 is their phone number. Whenever you get hurt in a car accident, you have to know who to go to and who can have your back to get back to what you need. They will fight against those insurance companies to get you every dollar you deserve. Hughes and Coleman injury lawyers, once again, for a free case consultation, 800-800-4600, principal office, Nashville, Tennessee.
AtoZ Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Download the app. You can get in on NBA action, college basketball action. That's heating up. We've got the big tournament coming around right around the corner. It's February. It's about to turn into that other March, that March month that everybody knows and loves. So download the app today in your Apple or Android store. Let's get to it.
All right, magic bucket time, Zach. You still are in possession of the bucket.
Let's see how I can find some time to give this to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we live like 0.6 miles away from each other.
Yeah, but we never see each other.
But that seems like that there's a lot, it takes literally 4 minutes round trip to do that. But again, here's what
time.
I'll tell you something. Here you go, Zach. So, I've been getting my allergy shots now for over a year. I need to get an allergy shot today, which means I have to leave my house. When I do that, I will let you know, and I'll come by before or after to grab the bucket. Fair?
Deal. I'll walk it out to you.
That's fine. I just got to remember that. I'm going to write it down next to my allergy note. I'm going to say magic bucket right around it. So there we go. All right. But it is your turn, right? And then I owe multiple stickers when I get it back for next week.
Well, once I give the bucket back next week, you can start on your sticker and we'll go from there.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. What you got for us today?
So is this for me?
Yeah, this is for you. Yeah.
Say one thing you wish you could do as a talent.
You have not had this one. I have.
I mean, the easy one is like sing, right? Because like it would be great to sing. But I'm going to go with something different. If I could do one thing as a talent, what will it be?
You can go ahead and pull mine if you want.
Yeah, now I got to think about this. As a talent.
Mr. Robbins says, what about armpit noises? Because I think you tried that and failed several years ago.
Yeah, I don't have that as a talent.
Now that, Mr. Robinson's been paying attention to the magic bucket for quite a while then.
Give a tutorial on how to tie a tie. I think you've done that.
I have done that. Yep.
Have you shotgunned a beer at the end of the show? I don't think you have.
I have not done that.
I have. During the next live show, you must drink a full beer / seltzer before the first full ad read. Oh yeah, I drank a Gerst. And I remember you didn't even realize I did it.
Yeah.
That was good. We'll say this. Towards the end of the show, I started to get a little buzz.
I do remember that.
Because I didn't have anything. I couldn't speak. That's what it was.
Yeah. I have done the shot of like alcohol at the beginning of the show.
If not finished or accomplished, you must shotgun another beer to end the show.
All right. So the rules are I have to drink an entire 12-ounce beverage, alcoholic beverage, before the first live read of the show. And then if I don't, I have to shotgun another one at the end.
Correct.
All right, that's fine. So what do you wish you could do? Dom also said, do you wish you could do agriculture? Because that's also another throwback from the magic bucket days.
Here you go. I don't know if this is a talent. It may be a skill, but a talent. I do wish that I could fly a plane. I do think pilots are talented. Wouldn't you say that?
I think it's a learned skill, but
there's talent to it.
Well, what type of plane are you flying? I think there is a talent to having to fly like a jet. That's like a fighter. I have a buddy who I grew up with. He is a Navy pilot, but he was the type of person that could pick anything up and be good at it pretty quickly. And so that made sense that he had the talent to become a Navy pilot. But I don't think flying a prop plane is the same deal. That's a learned skill.
What about a private jet?
That's still more similar to a prop plane. But again, like
I think that you can talent. I think there's talent in that.
Matt says every talent is learned. There are aspects of skills like singing that are learned, but there is also a talent that you have to be able to do that. Like, I will never be a talented singer. I could learn to sing better, but it's still not going to be great. You know what I mean? I don't have that natural talent.
Well, I could learn how to fly, but may not be able to learn to fly great.
Maybe so. So I will accept it. I think it's fine.
With that, because it's something that I've thought about. My grandfather was knew how to fly. He flew prop planes, and I remember flying in there one time. I will say I have flown a plane before. I shouldn't have been flying, but I was.
Was it like when Dwight Schrute, steered the cruise ship, or?
Yeah, well, it's one of my buddies. A friend of a friend is a pilot. He actually now is like a commercial pilot, but we went up in Nashville and he was flying it, and he was like, "Do you want to fly it?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to fly it." And so I flew it for 10 minutes. I was flying around. I was flying over my old high school, BGA. I remember that. I was like, "This is kind of cool." I'm flying, and I was controlling the plane. Now he landed it and all that stuff. So, but that, I don't know, it kind of gave me the feel of, and it would be cool to have if you're rich enough or wealthy enough, you have your own private jet that you could fly.
Yeah. Too many wealthy I guess
if you have that kind of money, you don't want to fly it. You let
too many wealthy people have died because they've wrecked their own planes. And so that's something that I'm not interested in ever,
like Skinner, Leonard Skinner. Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing. You don't have a lot of plane crashes like you used to, right? With all like the famous people flying around.
I mean, you still have some. If you remember, not too long ago, a notorious.
You still have them. I'm not saying.
Yeah, that. Yeah. So anyway, but I do think that's an interesting talent. Yeah, that's definitely an acceptable answer for the Magic Bucket today. All right, so tomorrow I've got to get my beer or seltzer. I got to see what I got in the fridge. I got something that's a little different that I might actually give a shot as well tomorrow morning that really kind of doesn't necessarily fall into one of those categories, but it will work. So tomorrow morning, we will talk a lot about what Robert Woods said about being cut by the Titans and then what the Titans have to do with the wide receiver position moving forward. So we'll see you guys then. Don't forget, before you head out here this morning, like the show before you go. I know there's a lot more people watching than the people that have clicked that thumbs up button on YouTube and Facebook. So we'd appreciate you greatly if you do that. It helps us out, helps us grow our conversation to get more people involved here in the show. So we appreciate it as always. Don't forget Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime for whatever else Rand Carthon does next for the Titans roster. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on a happy hour Friday. Talk to you then. Appreciate it as always.